Hey, this is Dave from Metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. So, for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from German death metal band Stillbirth. The band's new album, Revive the Throne, will be released on August 7th via Unique Leader Records. I was thinking the other day, Duncan, it's been a while since we've reviewed some death metal.
Fuck you, Dave. It has been a whole minute. I think. I mean, we're laughing, we're joking about it. Well, you're laughing and joking about it. I'm tolerating it. You have said, you went on record, you've coined 2020 as the year of death metal. And I think when you throw that into the universe is going to give you a lot of death metal to review. So much. And when there's not, remember like a couple of years ago, it was like everything had like a tinge of black metal to it. This year, everything has a tinge. It's either like got Chino Marino, Deftones vocals, right?
Yep.
Or it's got death metal somewhere in it. Like everything has death metal in it this year. Death metal as far as the eye can see.
You know why that is? Because it's the year of death metal.
See, you put it back out there into the universe and it cancels itself out. Next week, we'll be reviewing indie rock.
You're on your own.
The new Travis album. I don't even know if they still exist.
Travis?
I don't know. We're driftwood, Dave. We're all driftwood.
People still listen to Travis.
I don't even know if they're still on the go.
I have no idea.
People are tuning off right now and hitting stop, looking at it and saying, this said Stillbirth, not Travis.
Yep. I'm going to move on. Formed in 1999.
Oof.
Yep. Germany's Stillbirth are about to unleash album number 7. The album features 11 songs and has a running length of 32 minutes.
That's an album I can listen to more than once.
Yes, it is. The band also states that this is their heaviest material to date, merging a mix of death metal, grindcore, slam, and a bit of deathcore. This is also, wait for it, the first Stillbirth recording with, drum roll, 2 basses. 2 basses.
What's it with German bands? Like, remember when we did, what's her face? The other German band that had 3 guitarists.
Primal Fear.
Primal Fear. We are German, we will have 3 guitarists. This band are like, we are German, we will have 2 bassists. Cancel out your 3 guitarists. So it's like some sort of weird like union out there. Like if a band has an extra guitarist more than they should, some other German band has to incorporate another instrument. And like, we'll have 2 bass players to even it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, they feel they feel that 2 basses will give them maximum brutality.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. This album has maximum brutality pissing at it.
It feels pretty maximised, yeah. Yeah, it's a fairly relentless release, to be honest, yeah. No signs of any ballads on this bad boy.
No downtime at all.
No, not at all.
None.
What I did really enjoy though, which is something we've not heard a lot of recently, and it's probably down to these like copyright issues, but samples from movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
You know?
Please, like me and Dave used to be in a band. Listeners, let me take you on a journey. Journey's back in time. We used to be in a band, and we were never signed, which meant that I did vocals in the band, but I did a lot of media samples and stuff. It meant I could completely rip content from movies, copyright free, because we didn't pay anything for them and we weren't signed. So I enjoy bands that do that, specifically at the beginning of songs. And the only other song I've ever heard use the particular one of the particular samples they used from A Few Good Men. Was used in front of a hardcore rave track, Dave. So this was refreshing to hear it slowed down a little bit for this release. And I'm just going to say, equally as punishing. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, no, clearly they're having... it plays really well with death metal, like samples. I've always felt that way. You know, you put a really great sample at the beginning of a song, and then you bludgeon the listener within an inch of their life before getting playful with another one.
Yeah, you know, we were good at that. Blood Duster, they were.
Blood
really
Duster
good at
had all the samples.
Yeah,
Blood Duster were just like, they were 50% samples, 50% the best songs ever written.
Yeah, but yeah, as you mentioned, there's A Few Good Men in there. We've got Spartacus in there. Gladiator in there. Spartacus, a TV show, I think. Gladiator, another one I picked up was Game of Thrones as well.
Yes.
I mean, and apart from the Few Good Men quote, most of them have a bit of a battle / gladiatorial theme about them.
Yeah, almost as if they're mimicking the artwork on the album.
Almost.
Which has a gladiatorial theme to Dave. Yes, yeah, I like it. It's synchronicity and all works. Although, in fairness, even the Few Good Men thing is all to do with, protecting yourself from your enemy using walls and stuff. I just want to know, Dave, do you want to know the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
I can't. So lie to me how much you dislike this album.
No, I will not. But yeah, samples are cool. I really liked how they kind of serve as like a kind of a short intro into some of the tracks. It kind of builds up that little bit more anticipation before the band completely annihilate your eardrums.
Breaks it up as well. Like it really does give the... See, one of my big gripes with death metal is at times it can be... Samey's a horrible word, but very consistent to the point that it is not always obvious when a track finishes and when another one starts. Samples are a great way just to break that up. You associate a sample with either the beginning or the end of a track. It's like turning the page on a book into a new chapter. It just gives you that head, and then you're right back into it. So yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
From the opening riffs on Degraded to Mutilation, these guys just let rip. Not only is this album monstrously heavy, but these guys have the kind of technical prowess to back it up. The musicianship on this release is pretty impressive, from the kind of slick, almost Dying Fetus-esque fretwork on the likes of Degeneration to the punishing blast beats on Revolt of the Week. It's an album that will have you in awe of both its kind of heaviness and musical dexterity. We've reviewed quite a few death metal releases recently. I don't know if you'd noticed, but
no, they all become a blur, Dave.
And quite a lot of them have kind of dipped their toe, or in various different styles, other subgenres.
Yes.
And I feel that this album still does that, but I feel like Stillbirth are a little craftier in their execution of it. I felt like the kind of blending of the styles, it isn't so blunt, if you catch my drift. It doesn't feel as like sectioned off, like here's the hardcore part and now here's the grind section and then here's the deathcore part. I feel like Stillbirth managed to kind of blend those styles so well that you don't necessarily anticipate or notice a lot of the transitions. Yeah,
I think this is first and foremost completely death metal from start to finish, and any influence out with death metal that they are bringing in, they are still grounding it in death metal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that was one of the things that surprised me when you were reading out how they describe themselves. And you mentioned about 2 or 3 things, and I was thinking, like, because to me, like, it was a death metal album, and you're like, oh well, there's a bit of grindcore in there, and I was like, grindcore? Oh, no, actually that bit is kind of, when you think about it, and then you're like deathcore, and I was like, well, no, actually that bit is kind of like, so yeah, they merge it surprisingly well into the kind of core tenets of death metal that they bring out here. And there is a kind of throwback kind of 90s death metal kind of core here, but it's super modern sounding, like in the best possible way. That's why I was a bit shocked when you said they formed in 1999. Because I had you told me they were like, this was their second album, they'd formed in like 2016, I would have been like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So they don't suffer any of the cliches. I know you're going to hate me for saying this, that a lot of 90s death metal has. Sorry, Dave.
I'll let it slide this time, Duncan.
I have noted it here.
I think because it's an album that's so relentless, it is an album that I had to sit and kind of absorb a few times over before I kind of started to appreciate all the little kind of twists and turns. And then even then, I still found myself kind of honing in on certain areas while listening to it. I found myself totally fixated on the guitar playing just so I didn't miss anything. But then very occasionally they take their foot off the gas for like a millisecond before giving you like an absolute ear bludgeoning. And it's usually in the form of some kind of like snappy drum fill, or they'll like hold a guitar chord like on Panem et Circenses. Standout tracks for me, I really enjoyed Breed of Bestiality, cracking track title as well. Which for me, that was one of the ones that had a little kind of bit of a deathcore tinge to it, and also wee bits of Gojira in there as well. It's very subtle, but it was in there. I love the tone of the riffs on that one. Echoes and Trumpets was another one. It's quite erratic, a lot of the track, but there's a kind of cool recurring riff that had a wee bit of almost like a kind of red chord vibe at times as well.
Oh, wow.
Vocally, this thing is absolutely sickening. The guy's name is Lucas on vocals, and he has.
Lucas can go deep.
Oh my god! How obscene are his pipes?
Every now and again, like he would hit a really low kind of. Grill is the wrong word, but he'd hit a low tone that like really did make me look to see if I was playing at half speed, because it just didn't sound human.
It wasn't quite as low as Afterbirth.
No, nothing's as low as that, Dave.
It's slightly more gravelly than the Afterbirth vocalist, who I found out actually his name is Will Smith, the Afterbirth vocalist.
Well, Will has been through a lot of stuff just now with his wife cheating on him, so if he forms a death metal band, it would make sense. Yeah,
that's how he should sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, vocally, Lucas, his voice completely fits this band style like a glove, and somehow manages to make this band sound even heavier than they actually are. It's ridiculous. What are you feeling about this album? I'm still not sure what I'm picking up for you on this album yet.
So let me feed into a couple of things which are in kind of response to some of the things you've said. Okay. I don't see the need for two bass players in this at all. Like even remotely, I think their guitars aren't that detuned anyway. I've got a sneaky suspicion they tune probably in or around what Gojira tuned to. I don't think it maybe thickens out the sound potentially, but I don't think it's necessary. So I'm just going to put that out there. Not that I want them to hate me. I just don't see the need for that. It would be completely different if the second bassist was doing something completely different to what the other bassist was doing. But I couldn't make out anything from the listen that resulted in, that sounds like that bass player's got four hands. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like that.
I was the same actually. Just while you're on that topic, I listened to this with different headphones, like my really expensive ones, and I played it in the car and stuff like that, just to see if I could pick up on the two basses thing. And it is a very bass-heavy album, and the kind of bottom end is like chest cavingly low at times. But I don't know if I would have noticed that there was two basses on the album without being told. They don't necessarily sit out front of the mix like you would hear on for example, like an Obscura album or a Beyond Creation album. They're more kind of progressive type death metal bands, but I feel like I agree with what you're saying. I think they've maybe used it for additional power more than anything else.
Yeah, and to me, you that might make sense in a recording setting. I don't know how that works in a live setting. Like their live mix must be like absolutely incredible, or it'll just sound, really like too bass heavy on this sort of style of music where the guitar work is so intricate at times. Could sound a bit muffled, but I don't want to presume how they sound live. Overall, there were parts of this I really enjoyed. There were other parts that, after a while, I gave this 2 full listens through, and the first play played a lot better for me than the second play. The second play, it just kind of, I don't know. I appreciate this. It comes back to that old adage. There's a lot in here that I appreciate from a musical point of view, because as a musician myself, I understand the technicality that goes into crafting something like that. But whereas some of the recent death metal stuff that we've covered, and you've kind of hit the nail on the head, where they've actually, right, and now we're moving into the hardcore bit, or now we're moving into the black metal bit, or whatever. Those transitions for me give me a bit of respite. There is no respite in this album at all, really, out with the samples, and like that, to me, I have to be in a particularly foul mood to enjoy nothing but this from start to finish on an album, and I've been kind of chirpy the last week, if I'm honest. So yeah, whilst I appreciated it, like, I mean, this might be, if I'm having a bad day, I might shove on some Stillbirth again. Realistically, I'm probably not going to revisit this again before the end of the year, and it's not an indication of anything that I dislike on the album at all. Far from it. I appreciate everything these guys are doing. This to me is maybe a more egregious step into the death metal territory, which I can take or leave.
Okay, I kind of thought that might be the case.
I did tell you that one of the reviews were recording tonight, because sometimes we record in bulk, ladies and gents. Behind the curtains, look at you. I did tell you there was maybe 1 or 2 that maybe didn't live up to some of the other ones that we've been listening to. It's not to take anything away from them. There are sections in here where, I mean, the production's fucking nasty. The drummer, by the way, it's fucking ridiculous. And like some of the riffs are, like, it's hard not to pull the old Onion face when you're listening to them. But there are other bits where I was just like, is this still the same song? Yes, it is. And it just kept going and kept going and kept going, which is the design of it. It is supposed to be a punishing album. And it is. Trust me when I say it is a punishing album.
Absolutely.
But like sometimes for me, like I've said before, like, I like my death metal like I like my gin, Dave. With a mixture. So,
very posh of you.
Don't drink it straight, Dave. Some people do. Those people are nasty. Like a wee bit of mixture. And whilst they do, and you are right, they are mixing little bits and bobs, it is still inherently in the background full fucking death metal. So this, to me, if you love your death metal just unrelentlessly heavy, and you've never heard, I imagine we're not breaking like any, like any news to people out there. I imagine people out there that are into like death metal know who Stillbirth is. You'll be happy to know that they're still heavy as fuck. So, if not heavier.
It had almost kind of the opposite effect.
Oh, of course it did.
For me, because like you said, like the listens you enjoyed the first one, second one maybe not so much. I found I liked it the more I listened to it. It was a total grower for me. And not to say that I didn't like it at first. I actually did like it on first listen, but I think because I listened to it so much, I mean, I've easily listened to this 6 or 7 times. I appreciated more and more what these guys were delivering on Revive the Throne. For me, it was an album that will benefit from repeat listens, and I'm now at the stage where I've heard it so much that I know what twists and turns are coming as I'm listening to the album, which kind of makes it more exciting because I know there's bits come up that I really like and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it, but I quite like a relentless listen. Yeah,
I mean, this to me is the epitome of a Davey album. You know what I mean? Like, if I was to stumble across this on iTunes, this is the sort of thing I would screenshot and say, have you heard this band? I think you'd like them.
Yes.
I don't think that's reciprocal. I think if you come across this on your Spotify, it's unlikely you screen grabbing it and sending it over to me out with, this is the heaviest riff I've ever heard on this track at this point. Don't listen to anything else except this riff. So,
so rating wise, for me, this is again a very solid album for me. This is a 4 out of 5 for myself. What about you? What are you sitting at rating wise?
It's a 3. It's a 3. Like I say, whilst it's maybe not my particular cup of Java, the musicality here, like there are some death metal bands that are relentlessly heavy where it is as stock as it can be. You know what I mean? You've heard the riffs done before by other bands who probably do it better. Stillbirth put their own flair on everything, and that's what makes it interesting, albeit maybe not necessarily catered to my taste. So it's still a great album though, and it's a 3.
Excellent. If you fancy the sound of this, Stillbirth will be releasing their new album Revive the Throne on August 7th through Unique Leader Records. In the meantime, you can check out the band at facebook.com/Stillbirth Party.
Oh my god. If you're partying at a Stillbirth, I mean, I'm just gonna say they might ask you to leave, Dave.
That's what I'm playing at my parties, Duncan. Saturday night, I'm putting on a bit of Stillbirth. That's right.
Oh, I love Germany. I really do. Fucking crazy bastards.
Yep. Thank you for listening again, guys. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. Until then, take care. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.